Hey, what is good, Colorado? I hope that you are well. So today's chat is very well timed. Couldn't be more perfect in a way. Talking about getting outdoors and doing it responsibly and making sure that our public lands, our forests are well maintained, well taken care of. And for me, I just got back last night from a 3 day camping trip up in the Arapahoe National Forest and had a great time. There are a lot of people up there getting in that last camping trip, and the fall colors are starting to change, so people are definitely starting to travel up into the high country and check out the fall colors up there and the aspens changing. It is incredible. But we want to make sure that we are doing this responsibly, that we are keeping our forests clean. And there's been a lot of problems with overcrowding and trash over, the last several years, but it's spiked in the last couple of years around COVID. And my guest today, we're going to talk about the work that they do here in Colorado in really helping get into the forest and help keep them clean, manage it, and partnering with the U.S. Forest Service where they can. And my guest here is Shawn Nielsen with Focus on the Forest, and he's joining me this morning here on Mile High Live. Welcome, everyone. I'm Aaron Johnston, coming to you from Castle Rock, and appreciate you tuning in here to my live stream. My goal, my mission is to connect with people from around Colorado, people who help elevate our state, who are rolling up their sleeves, doing hard work, and helping out people, helping out in their community, in making our state the great place that it is to live and the place that we love to live in. And, this today, talking about getting out into the forests and managing the lands and doing it in a responsible way, right? We all want to do that. We want to enjoy it when we get there and leave it so other people can have that same enjoyment. And it's getting harder and harder with more and more people getting up into the mountains. Getting the I-70 corridor was just crazy traffic yesterday as I was coming back. And I'm sure that's the case all around our state. But anyways, look, I've been looking forward to having this conversation, and let's just dive into it here. I'm going to bring on Shawn Nielsen with Focus on the Forest to talk about the good work that his organization is doing. I saw them in a story in the Colorado Sun here last month talking about getting into the forests west of Colorado Springs and doing work cleaning up sites that have been trashed. And Shawn, welcome. Thank you for hanging out with me here for a little bit this morning. And so I just want to hand it over to you and ask you to share a little bit about yourself and your organization, Focus on the Forest.
Thanks for having me, Aaron. I really appreciate it. It's always good to get the word out about our forests and the management of our forest and how everybody can have a good time when they're out there.
Yeah.
Brief rundown. Focus on the Forest started in September 6th of 2016. We were out on a camping trip, and the people next to us left the trash out, and the bears got into it. And I've spent my whole life in these mountains, and I was picking it up for the millionth time in my life, and I just had a head fit on social media. And the responses we got back were just incredible. I think it was something like 127 comments in 15 minutes about people who were frustrated about the way our forest was. And me and my wife, Eve, sat down and just said, yeah, you know what? I'm tired of talking about this. Let's do something about this. So that's how Focus on the Forest was born.
Okay.
And so we just started putting events together and cleaning up.
That's great. Just organizing people around your town. And where are you at?
We're in Woodland Park, Colorado. So
Right.
Mainly we're focused right now in Teller County, and we have a chapter in Monument, and we work some in El Paso.
Okay, good. Yeah, so to help paint a picture of the problem, here's a picture that I took earlier this summer, late spring, and this is I'm going to pick on Boulder for a little bit. This is up in Boulder County, north of Netherland, a little bit, and I think this is a lot of what people see. I'm frustrated as well seeing this around the forest, and there's trash laying around. I mean, literally, the sign says no dumping, and people just took their trash and dumped it right there, and then just a little bit over. I mean, it's not a ton of trash, but still, you can see that it's been sitting there for a while. It's strewn about, and it's just the Forest Service is trying to do its part and encourage people not to dump trash, and yet people just like willfully put it right there under the sign.
Yeah, well, we did an interview, the news interview once on that same thing. It was a big pile of a dump spot right next to a no dumping sign. See, the thing
Yeah.
I think about that picture that you just showed is you know, in my mind, that's a very small amount of trash.
Hmm.
So anybody, if it was me and I had walked by that sign, that trash would have been gone in 3 minutes. And if everybody gets involved in this and does their, I know people have a tendency to look at it and say it's not my mess.
Right.
Okay, we look
It's
at
easy to
it
do.
differently than that. In Focus on the Forest, we look at it as we're not cleaning up somebody else's trash. We're taking back our national forest because essentially this is our forest. It's public lands. So if everybody would just get involved and instead of looking at it in a negative sense, look at
Mm.
it in a positive way. I'm going to clean this up and then I don't have to look at it. And the next person like you that comes in doesn't have to look at it.
Well, that's a good way to put it, and I know I could be better myself as far as doing that as well because I definitely fall into that trap. Well, that's not my mess, and it is frustrating to see. But that is, I guess, a much more positive way of looking at it. And they are our public lands. We own them as taxpayers. Yes, they are managed by the federal government, by the Forest Service, or there's national parks managed by Department of Interior, but they are our public lands, and there's that sense of ownership that we should take with it. So, what are some of I guess the common types of trash that you guys see? I mean, that looks like somebody's, maybe picnic trash or they'd been camping over the weekend, something like that. But I'm curious, is there typical types of trash that you see? And I ask that too because, growing up in Colorado, I would always see like old beer cans and stuff like that, rusted out cans. Saw just a couple of them this weekend. They don't seem to be as prevalent as they used to be. But so I guess this weekend, as I was up in the mountains and I saw the rusted out can, it's like I wonder what you guys typically see. You have any?
Well,
Just
if you can think of it, we've probably picked it up. But every time I say that,
yeah,
we end up getting something new. Like we got our first pool table 2 weeks ago.
cool.
Uh, we got a piano that we looked for 2 years to find that somebody reported.
Wow.
We go out and get anything, but it goes anywhere from uh, just people dumping furniture because the dumps are so expensive to
Mm-hmm.
just household trash. I mean, I've picked up spots that look like somebody had been keeping their trash for years, and they just have it's gotten out of control, and they don't know what to do with it, and they can't afford the dump, or they choose not to, or there's a million different factors in this. I mean, because we see all sorts of stuff from campers that leave their bags out and are expecting the Forest Service trash people to come by. I'm not really sure how that works, but they don't exist. So, I mean, the animals get into it, then it gets strewn out. And so I guess to answer the question is we see anything you can think of, we've probably run across it. Um, but a lot of it is the big parts are dump spots. Usually the stuff like you showed in the picture, those are just people who don't want to take their trash back with them, I guess,
Right.
after they get done. So we've done some programs where we've taken our dumpsters out on holiday weekends and put them out there, and it's working. I mean, we've done ones where we've gone out and looked at all the sites afterward, and they're clean, and there's 1,500 pounds in the dumpster.
Wow.
So the Forest Service, that's a major project, and our main focus is to get the Forest Service out of the cleanup business altogether, and for us to take that over. And I think with the help of the communities, we can do this.
Okay. So that's a great setup there, because I want to ask you about how you guys partner with the Forest Service. And so there was a story in Colorado Sun I briefly mentioned that I saw last month that talked about people who are down on their luck, some have, I believe, been in Colorado or from Colorado. Others have come from out of state and are camping for extended periods of time. They're out of home, they're homeless, and they're up in the mountains and kind of making a mess of the place because they're down on their luck. They're not up there to recreate. They're just trying to get by. And that's where I saw your organization and first learned to focus on the forest. But I'm curious how you guys partner with the Forest Service.
Well, we have a really great partnership with the Forest Service. The thing about the homeless, we call them forest neighbors because at any given time, there's 50 to 60 living up in Rampart Range where we live. And some of them are, it's bad choices. Some of them are bad situations. And not all of them that live up there are destroying it. I mean, there's a lot of them that keep it clean. Some just don't care. We call them the 1%. But the partnership with the Forest Service essentially is the Forest Service has to tag them. You can stay 2 weeks in a single spot or 10 days, I think it is, and then you have to move. Mm-hmm. And if they don't move, the Forest Service can go in and tag their camp for removal. So then if they do or they abandon it, and then we come in and we can clean it up. But the Forest Service is really good about not kicking somebody when they're down.
Yeah.
The same as we are. We're not out to hurt people. We're out to keep our forests clean is the main goal. So we try to work with the Forest Service and work with the forest neighbor population. Sometimes we've gone up and done trash service for them.
Okay.
Sometimes they've hosted their own cleanups. It's been pretty amazing once people get involved and see beyond the homeless thing. It definitely changes the way people look at it.
Well, and that was pretty clear from the Colorado Sun story. The Forest Service does try to work with people, give them some time, instead of just booting them out that day when they show up, and give them some time to move along and hopefully get into better circumstances. And the Forest Service, I know from my time going up over the last couple of years, they're definitely struggling, just with staffing, like so many other organizations are. We've had some major forest fires, so there's some focus on trying to, I think, dedicate resources to, seeding and those sorts of programs that is a primary focus for them. And as you say, you're trying to help get the Forest Service out of the trash cleanup business, right? So they could use that because then they can direct those man hours and resources to other things.
That's what we told them when we first started this. When I first met with the Forest Service, I told them what our initial plans were. Mm-hmm. And that's what I wanted to tell them. The Forest Service have very limited resources. Say Pike National Forest has 1.5 law enforcement officers.
Oh, wow.
They have one full-time and one part-time. Pike National Forest is 3.125 million acres. Wow. So trying to patrol 3 million acres with 2 guys is just it's impossible to do. There's no way for them to keep up with that. Yeah. So that's what I told them in the beginning when we started is I wanted them to use their resources for doing Forest Service things. Like you said, reseeding, thinning out, getting rid of the fire dangers, doing the stuff that the Forest Service is supposed to be doing instead of using their resources to be cleaning up the trash. We clean up stuff from 50 years ago.
Right.
It's accumulated over the course. Nobody's ever cleaned it up. So it's accumulated over the course of 50 years. So there's no way for that note that the Forest Service can keep up with both sides of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we come in.
Okay. So, are there instances that come to mind, either recent or from when, like, you guys started early on? You're helping people, and is there instances like with the stories like in the Colorado Sun of people like that come to mind that stand out to you, as you've done your job, that you think about, like, that helps make this worthwhile, right? And you know that you're making a difference, not just for the forest, but for people as well.
Oh, I make we since we started this, I can't tell you what a difference this has made. When we first started up in Rampart, it was a dump. I don't
Mm.
know a better term to use than a dump. And we've spent a lot of time up there. And we just were up there yesterday looking at another spot that we're going to clean up because we're starting to move north.
Okay.
And it looks like a national forest again. It gives me hope
Cool.
that this can be done. And I know it can be done if everybody gets involved. So it's changed. It's changed the way that the area is, knowing that Focus on the Forest is involved in that, because we're not a threat to
Mm.
anybody living up there. We're there to help. So it changes their attitude. Usually, when you give somebody some hope, it's amazing what that'll do.
That's right. Good. Okay. um, you're coming in to help them, not be a threat to them, like you said. That's
Right. Yeah,
powerful.
we're not
Yeah.
out to hurt anybody.
Yeah, that's powerful. And a simple organization is helping give hope to people that are facing hard times, and even the community, as you say, to make it look like a forest. Again, that's very well put, because there are places where it just doesn't look that way. So
Just the look
yeah.
on your face when you did that, when you said that, I've had that same look. Like, it's like,
Oh,
I'm not sure exactly how to describe this area, but uh, we can fix it all together. We can fix these things.
yeah. Well, and when I was up camping this weekend, and we were really on the edge of where the East Troublesome fire was last year, and that's a different
Okay.
event, different from what you guys are contending with. But I guess I was looking at the hillsides to the left of us versus the hillside that we were camping next to, just to the right of us, and the one right behind us to our right was lush and beautiful, and trees growing all over it, and the other one was a bunch of sticks. And I had that thought in my mind where it's like, gosh, what did this look like just even a little more than a year ago? People sitting right here camping, enjoying this view. And what a wonderful place that it was. I know it was still a great experience, don't get me wrong, but it was a different experience than people had a year before. And so for you guys, in that vein, cleaning up a site and restoring it to what people knew it looked like at a previous time before it had been trashed, and degraded, and just what a difference it makes. I guess driving around, you're like, wow, what did this look like before? I bet this was pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. It's very cool. Even yesterday, it was really cool. See, our focus, though, for the reason we do this for the most part is when, like you went camping this weekend, right? And if you show up with your family to go camping and you have to pick up the trash in your campsite when you first get there, it puts a bad feeling into the whole weekend.
Yeah.
And I spent my life growing up camping with my family, and if you show up and it's clean and you can set up and roast marshmallows or do whatever you want to do, it makes families and people better people.
Yeah. It does. And we were there first night. There was only one other camp spot occupied, And then the second night, it's Friday night, people are starting to fill in. There was probably 6, 8 groups that were there, and down just a few spots from us was a group that it wasn't a family camping. It was a group that came up to party for the night and have a lot of fun, basically have a bonfire and consume a lot of alcohol. And look, there's a lot of people, myself included, that have gone up to the mountains to do that, right? And get away and indulge and just have fun. But as I was sitting there thinking, I was like, oh gosh, I hope they clean up their mess and don't leave that site trashed. And I don't know. I'm not saying that they did. I'm sure they cleaned it up, but that thought crosses your mind because the sites do get heavily used, and they should be left for the next campers to come in and enjoy. So, anyways,
See, with me, I would have gone over there afterward and made sure.
right.
That's just what I do. I mean, usually when we go camping, because we do a lot, we'll go and actually take the quads out and go to all the
Mm,
camps around us. And we have basically a campfire program that we do too on the big holidays, where
okay.
we'll take water tanks out and we'll look for abandoned campfires. So we're cleaning up the camps. It's almost like a maintenance service after the camping weekend. I don't
Mm,
want to make people think that that's an acceptable way so you could leave the trash because we're coming behind you.
of
That's not
course.
where I'm going with this. But we do that.
Cool. Don't leave your trash, people. Pick it up.
Don't leave
Don't
your
don't
trash.
wait for Shawn to come behind you to pick it up. Save him
Yeah,
the effort.
we don't want to put that out there that
Okay.
there's this magic program that'll pick it up after we're done.
No,
That's not it. Everybody
that's right.
needs to take responsibility for their own forest. And you see what happens though when it gets trashed to a point that um, they can't manage it.
Hmm.
The Forest Service will shut it down.
They'll just
They'll
lock
shut
the
off
gate.
camping areas. They'll shut off roads. They'll because and I used to be really upset about that, but now I understand why they do what they do. They well, we can't keep up with it. So what do you want me to do? We came in, cleaned it up, and then it gets trashed in a week. And what are we going to do?
Yep.
So if people would take care of it, we could get our public lands open again to the public because they are our lands.
So that's great that you say that because that reminds me. A few weeks ago, my son and I were getting up in Boulder County, West Boulder County, the right around the Rainbow Lakes campground area, Indian Peaks Wilderness area, and that road that goes back in there. It's a couple mile stretch of county and forest road. It's maintained by both in different sections, but the Forest Service area, they have closed down that area to any dispersed camping. Um, and they've posted signs everywhere, no camping, because during the last year, uh, the people trying to get out and do something outdoors during COVID, as we've all been cooped up, they just trashed that area. And I don't know how many, there are probably hundreds of dispersed camp spots that sprang up in that stretch. There was a lot, and as we walked through, we could see where those were. And the Forest Service, again, as you say, they're overwhelmed, and they just said, you know what, we're shutting it down. This stretch, no camping. There's the designated campsite at the end of the road you can go to, and it's by the trailhead. And that was it. And then the county side, it was closed to like all activity, no camping, no hiking, no parking or anything. So I don't know
Hey,
why they. Yeah.
that's a terrible thing to have happen.
Hmm.
We these there are our lands. I mean, you should be able to go anywhere, and it doesn't take a lot to maintain them. So when they close them down, it pains me when they close them down because
Yeah.
I've had areas closed that I frequented that they've closed down, and now you can't enjoy it. You may have your favorite spot out there, and then
Sure.
next time you go up there, and I've heard stories, you go up there and there's a big no camping sign there. So
Mm.
again, I understand their point, but I'm working on fixing that.
Good.
As we expand, we're going to fix this. We're going to figure out the little ways that we can do what we need to do to make this stop happen.
Okay, so you've mentioned a couple of times, people that work with you that are helping out. Can you share, how big is your organization just as far as the number of volunteers that you guys have had? Maybe during the a weekend cleanup or whatever. Like, how do you quantify your group of volunteers? And I'm not saying that very well, but like, how much support do you guys get from the community? How many people are showing up to help you out in this?
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
may get a little winded in this one because that
Okay.
was a
That's
lot of
fair.
information I'm trying to give, but that's
Sure.
okay. I like doing this part.
Okay.
Okay, the community is the reason we exist. If it wasn't for the community support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. The local trash company, Teller County Waste, they
Mhm.
donate. In the beginning, they donated dumpsters for us to use, and the Hardcastle Plumbing and Heating donate money, and the community donates to us constantly, and all the equipment. The Newmont Mine gave us the dumpsters we have,
Wow.
and things like that. At any given moment, when we do our events, we'll have big events out in the forest. I mean, we've done ones up to 200 people that we'll
Wow.
have 200 people out there cleaning one area. And one in particular, we did Gold Camp. We had 200 people and we did 8,160 pounds in one day. So that's 4 tons in one day in one area.
Wow.
But it's not uncommon for us to have 50, 100 sometimes. And I hate to say this, but sometimes when we get the smaller cleanups, the little 15 people cleanups are fun because everybody's really interactive with each other. But the big cleanups are fun too because we'll have barbecues afterward, and we got music playing and games for the kids
Cool.
and things like that. So I think the people who follow the Facebook page is in the 2,000 range. But at any given time, depends on the size of the event. We'll have 100 to 150 volunteers come out.
That's great. And you started this organization, you said about 5 years ago. Sounds like just 5 years ago.
Five
So
years ago,
yeah.
October 1st is the first is the fifth anniversary of the first event cleanup that I did,
Okay.
which you got to understand was a total disaster because I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know what a nonprofit did. I didn't know what an event did. I'd been to them, but I never hosted one.
Right.
So it was a little scattered brain. We've gotten a lot better at it since then. But yeah, this is our October 1st is our fifth anniversary of it. And we are going to have a cleanup on North Rampart on the 2nd, fifth anniversary cleanup.
Okay. Well, I think that's incredible growth, even over 5 years, and to get that amount of support from the community is great. And appreciate you being candid and saying that the events early on were a little rough, and you've learned. But I think that's okay, right? That's what we do. It's not going to be perfect right out of the gate. We're going to have some scraped knees, and
It's a
sure,
learning process.
yeah,
Anybody, I'm gonna clean up the world in one day kind of thing. And then
sure,
I figured out that it's a big world. So,
yeah, yeah,
but so anybody listening, we've gotten a lot better at these events.
of
They're a
course.
lot more organized. We have safety equipment. We have all the trash bags. We have grabbers. We have gloves. We have everything you need to do it safely. So yeah, we've gotten a lot better at it since then.
And it sounds like you try to make it fun as well for everybody, including the kids, which is great. Because yeah, it is hard work and it's dirty, and you guys are out there sweating and doing good work, rolling up your sleeves, and but you got to have a little fun while you're doing it. So you
Well, when
guys
I
have grown,
started
and
this, that was the whole point. Is I
yeah,
got to have fun at this. We're gonna have fun, or I'm not doing it.
sure,
So we'll have chili cook-offs.
ooh,
We'll have we do all kinds of events. We do scout days where we have all the
mm,
scouts come out and do it, and there's music and raffles sometimes and games, and kids get T-shirts, and it's not as much work as you think it is if you don't look at it as work, because we always look at it positive. That's the whole point of this organization. Nothing negative. Again, we're not cleaning up somebody's trash. We're taking our forest back. So when you
Mhm.
go into it with that attitude, it's more of a. I actually had somebody tell me the last little cleanup we did. They were amazed. We had a big pile of trash. There was probably 500 or 600 pounds in a dump spot, and
Wow.
she looked at me and she's like, "There is no way we're going to clean this up." And I said, I used our motto, one piece at a time. And it wasn't 10 minutes. And 15 people had that whole thing cleaned up and in the trucks. And just the look on her face was made it worth it for sure.
That's great. It's powerful. Um, so, as a parent, I've got 4 kids trying to teach my kids how to be responsible and going up in the mountains. I grew up in Colorado and going to the mountains, and my parents did a fair job in teaching us what to do. But then, I've as I said earlier, candidly, we all have those moments. We go up and maybe we indulge, and maybe we're a little bit irresponsible, and we shouldn't be. But how, as a parent, how can I teach my kids, or if people that watch this, how can they teach their kids to be responsible when they're going up into the mountains, going into the forest, whether it's forest or it's a national park or wilderness, it's right, it doesn't matter. But based on your guys' experience, what are lessons that you would like parents to know to teach their kids?
Well, when I was growing up, like I said, my parents camped. I started backpacking
Hmm.
as soon as I could walk. My parents had a backpack on me. So I'd been doing this my whole life. And I always joke, kind of joke, let's just call it a joke, that if I had thrown trash on the ground when I was a kid, that would have been a really bad day for me. And I would have
Right.
spent the rest of the weekend picking up trash, is what would have happened. So I learned early, and we always did the police calls afterward
Hmm.
in a camp, always leave it better than you found it. That was just the moral that we grew up by. And I have 6 brothers and sisters, and we're
Wow.
all
Yeah.
exactly the same about it. You leave it better than you found it. And if you're walking down, say you're hiking and you see a water bottle or you see an old rusty can, like you said, you just pick it up, throw it in your backpack. If everybody picks up, if one person dumps 10 pieces of trash and 10 people pick up 10 pieces of trash,
Hmm.
you could clean up the forest just doing that very thing. So we always carried trash bags, a Walmart bag or whatever with us, and you would just pick up what you saw. I'd be out backpacking for 2 weeks, and I would pick up 10 water bottles in the middle of nowhere land. But if you see it, just don't look at it as, again, I'm not cleaning up somebody else's trash. I'm taking my forest back. So so as far as teaching your kids, just teach them the importance of they're going to lose it. It's a lot less open than it was when I was a kid. So if you go
Hmm.
to the next generation and it's a lot less open, then like you said, the dispersed camp spots that are closed, we're not going to get to keep them.
That's right. Yeah. Good point. And we have over 5 million people in Colorado now, and it's not like it was just even 10, 15, 20 years ago. With so many more people, it is getting overcrowded, and there are places that are being closed off, unfortunately. And I think that's something for me that, like, I see the trash candidly, and it's like, I don't want to put that in my backpack because I didn't bring a trash bag with me, right? So even just the simple act of putting a extra trash bag in my pack is before I even head out. That helps, I guess, reduce that barrier. So
It's
that's a good point.
you know what? I've always taken a trash bag, and just yeah, if you just take the trash bag with you, it puts you in that mindset that you're going to find something, because I never go anywhere that I don't find something. And if you go out with the mindset that, hey, I'm going out on my hike, but I'm also going out to take our forest back,
Hmm.
then it changes your attitude when you go out there. So I want to really focus on that. It's not cleaning up somebody else's trash, it's taking our national forest back.
That's a great mindset. Yep, they are our forests. Let's take them back. Okay, so you mentioned piano and a pool table that you've found. Anything else? I mean, like I've seen old vehicles, of course. That's not necessarily uncommon, but any other obscure objects that you've found that come to mind while you're out there?
We actually just pulled our monument chapter, just pulled a fifth wheel, an abandoned fifth wheel off the mountain yesterday. Um, Jacuzzis. One time we did a scout cleanup and we found a 15-foot plastic slide off of a jungle gym,
Oh my gosh.
which was really cool because somebody in the group that was cleaning up took it home and put it on their jungle gym, and then they put a focus on the forest sticker on the center of it.
Nice.
So that was kind of cool. We called it recycling.
That's great. I don't,
So
yeah,
yeah,
I don't understand the jacuzzi, how that quite works without
it was a
what?
full jacuzzi. It wasn't ripped up. It was just, and it was not off the road. It was way off the road. So we ended up having to go up there with sawzalls and
Hmm.
to cut it up because it was too big to get out. So I have no idea how they got it out there.
Wow. Yeah, the work that it would take to get it up there. You mentioned earlier about the work that is just to try to get it to the dump or pay the cost. Some people can't pay that cost. They feel like they can't pay the cost to have something come and picked up. But the amount of work that it would take just to get it up there seems like it would be more than taking care of it
Every
at your
time
home.
I see it, I say the same thing. It's like they are dedicated. I'll give that to them. They are dedicated because I look at some of this stuff, like the piano, that
Hmm.
wasn't off a road. So anybody that's picked up a piano
Mm.
has to understand that a piano is really, really heavy. So how they got it way out there, they are dedicated. I'll give them that. We went to a shooting range once, and the guy took three toilets, and he was a long range shooting. I didn't see the guy, but he took these toilets straight up a mountain, and it had to have been half a mile up this mountain, and then shot him.
Mm.
But again, I had to give him dedication because the toilet's not that light, and he hiked that mountain with those toilets. It was a pain for me to pick it up, but I had to laugh about that because I'm like, wow, that's, yeah, that's dedication.
Wow. Yeah, that is. Okay. Just easier to dig a hole, I guess. So, I guess a couple last questions for you. Just have you noticed ways that COVID has changed the environment and what you guys are seeing in the forests over the last
Uh,
couple of years?
yeah, COVID,
Yeah.
COVID hit us hard. I mean, it basically the Forest Service shut down all volunteer activities in
Okay.
the forest. So we were shut down for a year. And but in the same side, everybody was cooped up. So everybody was going completely stir crazy. So I saw more people out in the forest than I've ever seen before and on the bike paths and exercising and I get it. I do understand it, but having us shut down at the same time that the numbers increased didn't help going into this year.
Right.
So, because if we can maintain it, we have three stages of our cleanups. It's the actual cleanup of the bad area stage, and then we have a maintenance stage, and then we get the people involved to once they see it's all clean and staying that way, it stays that way. But the maintenance phase is easy. We go up through and sweep through it, and just pick up the little pieces here and there, and then we can maintain an area. The cleanup stage is where it's bad, and we had to actually go back up to Rampart this year, and we had to go from maintenance stage back to major cleanup stage, which was very difficult when we have to start cleaning up the same areas that we've already got
Hmm.
to that point. Because being shut down for a year, it doesn't stop the trash that's going on; it just starts accumulating again.
Sure.
So yeah, COVID hit our organization pretty hard.
So you guys were shut down as well as any Forest Service programs for cleanup. Is that what you
Sure,
said? Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
they didn't have it. You couldn't have any organized volunteer activities, and us being focused on the forest, it was considered a volunteer activity if I went out there on my own because I'm focused on the forest.
Oh, sure. Okay.
So yeah, so it was hard, and we love doing this. We love going out and taking our mountains back, and so it was a really difficult year for us not to be able to go out and spending a whole summer looking at the mountains and going, I
Mm,
can't do anything about it, because there's a lot of new areas, and we plan on going statewide at some point when we get um, enough people to run the chapters in different areas.
okay.
So we already have one chapter in Monument, and we're gonna take our state back.
Yeah, it's last year. I think for the Forest Service has been hard for the last 2 years because there's increased pressure on public lands, more people getting out to enjoy the lands because we've been so cooped up. But yet, on the staffing level, they've cut back. So it's like a double whammy uh, for the public lands. Oh,
Yeah,
it's
triple whammy. There's a
yeah.
well, because a lot of even all the other ones, the rem fees and the people who maintain the trails and
Mm.
all the groups. If you think about it, there was a lot of groups affected.
When you mentioned the
That are
scouts, that you
involved in
guys work
this.
with the scouts sometimes, and that's a great program for them to be able to do on a weekend. Get the kids up and go clean up, and they can't do that.
Yeah, no, and
Mm.
the way that we do everything so positive, it has a positive effect on the people who volunteer with us. So they take that back into the next level, which is where we want to go with this is
Mm.
passing it on to the next generation. We have a aluminum can thing we do for the Girl Scouts, and we sent them to Yellowstone this year with
Oh
all their
wow.
families. So it's an aluminum can drive. So we work a lot with youth programs, I guess was my point.
Okay, that's great. Okay, this has been really helpful, very insightful. I've definitely learned a lot as we've talked through this. So we'll wrap up here in just a second, but a few questions that I love to ask all of my guests that I want to ask you. And you know, you grew up in the mountains. I take it in Colorado. I would love to know from your perspective what makes Colorado such a great state.
Colorado is by far, and I've always said they're going to bury me here
Yeah.
because Colorado is by far the most beautiful. And I've been to some really beautiful places and I've taken some really neat backpacking trips in places. But Colorado statewide it doesn't matter where you go. Anywhere up here, you can find just the most beautiful, amazing, awe-inspiring places of anywhere I've ever been.
Cool. Yeah, the secret's gotten
So,
out. So that's for
no,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I get that. But you got
Yeah.
to look, a lot of people say about the overcrowding.
Hmm.
It's not so much overcrowding. I mean, because there's a lot of land out there. It's just the people, and again, I never like to blame any group of any sort, but when people come from places that they're not used to respecting the land, they, a lot of times I find people that don't even know that that's a thing.
Right.
And it sounds terrifying, but they're not, they came from a city somewhere and they don't, it's nothing to throw your cigarette butt on the ground
Right.
or throw your can out the window or so they grew up doing it. So it's not any kind of a stretch. They just don't understand. So it's our job to get that awareness out and just we had to deal with what the hand we're given. But yeah, Colorado is the most beautiful place I've ever been.
Cool. Okay, so what's your favorite place to visit in Colorado?
Oh goodness, now you're putting me on the spot. Uh, Top of my mind, I would have to say probably the Holy Cross Wilderness.
Mm.
Um, I We did a 2 week backpacking trip up there and actually went to the old Holy Cross City and whatnot. But there were some areas out there that were mind blowing. We had this one spot we got on this rock it was probably a 2,000 foot cliff, and this rock was sticking out from the cliff. And we're sitting on this rock, and it was at night, and
Mm.
the full moon was square in front of your face, and it was one of the big moons.
Yeah.
And I'll never get that out of my mind ever. That it was the
Oh,
most
cool.
incredible thing that I have ever seen. And you're dangling your feet 2,000 feet in the air. It was amazing.
How
But yeah,
fun.
I have a lot of stories like that, but we're not gonna have time for all of them.
That's cool. Yeah, that's a beautiful area up there. I've not hiked up to Holy Cross, but in that area, but driven around that area quite a bit. So that's awesome. Okay, so when you go out into, I mean, you guys live in Woodland Park, so you're in the mountains. But when you go out for recreational purposes, and maybe you already answered this, but do you like to camp? You prefer in an RV or staying in a hotel?
I never stay in a hotel. I take, I have a toy hauler
Okay.
that is what we take camping. And so I used to, I spent my whole life on the ground. And as I've gotten older, it's kind of upgraded as it's gone along. Then it was a tent, then it was an air mattress, then it was a little camper. Now I got a little bit better camper.
Sure.
It's not massive, but yeah, I like having a bed now when I go out. But yeah, we camp everywhere we go. We don't, even when we're traveling, we don't. Eve has this
Mhm.
app with free camping spots all over the country.
Oh,
So you can look it up and it'll tell you in the area and it'll give you reviews. So as we're driving, there'll be a road that goes off to the left and you go up a quarter of a mile across the railroad tracks and it's BLM or it's National Forest or it's amazing how many places are out there all over the country. So we always just take it and just go find a dispersed spot and camp.
that sounds
I like
awesome.
camping.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, good. And then last question, can you name a movie that was filmed in Colorado?
Uh, wasn't Jeremiah Johnson in Colorado?
Was it? I don't know. Okay, we'll take that.
I think it was. I'm trying.
With
Um,
Robert Redford?
yep.
Yeah.
I think
I'll
parts of
look.
that were
Good. Okay.
filmed in Colorado, and I'm not sure Last of the Dogmen.
What movie is that?
It's a movie about a Indian tribe that survived from to modern day, and
Okay.
they live in the same ways they did back since the beginning,
Okay.
but nobody knows about them. So it's a good
Huh.
movie. You should watch it.
Yeah, I'll look that up. Good tip. Thank you.
Last of the Dogmen.
Last of the Dogman. Okay. Well, Shawn, I appreciate you taking time here this morning and sharing about Focus on the Forest. Um, and really your attitude towards this as well, in sharing that and encouraging people to look at reclaiming their public lands. It's our public lands, and you're encouraging us not to look at it as a negative, to go in and clean up trash, particular site, or as we're going along hiking, but looking at it in the positive view of reclaiming our lands, and that your organization is helping bring hope to people as well, as you guys go in and do this, you and Eve and all of the volunteers with Focus on the Forest. They, you're bringing hope to people who are struggling, as we've seen in some of the news reports and that mention you guys. And COVID has been hard for a lot of people. Other circumstances have made it hard for people, but you guys are going in and serving the community, giving them hope, giving the community hope as you're restoring their areas. So I commend you guys and thank you for the hard work that you guys are doing to help clean up the forest.
Oh no, it's my pleasure. I mean, I can't imagine in my life. I can't imagine doing anything else.
Yeah.
Since we started doing this, I can't imagine. I mean, we've cleaned up 400,000 pounds of trash
Wow.
and 595 car tires right now.
Wow. Not
So,
that you're counting.
well, yeah, we keep track of this for the Forest Service so we
Yeah.
can tell them, and it's kind of a proud thing too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I can't imagine doing anything else. And the more we get the word out, and the more people follow that, just taking our mountains back, and like you said, taking a trash bag with you,
Mm.
we could do this. I mean, the people who love these mountains and love everything about it, we can take this back. And I'm happy to talk to anybody that wants to find out more about it. No problem.
Please. And how can people find out more about uh, you and Eve's work and Focus on the Forest, and whether they want to just learn more, they want to help volunteer? You guys said that you have an event coming up on October 2nd. Is that right? For your 5-year anniversary?
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
And even, people who want to support you financially or with other means, helping supply you guys with things that you need. You said there's companies out there that have given you dumpsters, for example, right? Like, that's really great. It doesn't just have to be money, folks. But where can people find out more about Focus on the Forest?
Okay. Well, yeah, we have a website. It's focusontheforest.org because we are a 501c3. So don't forget the .org part. That always throws people off. They're always
Mm-hmm.
focusontheforest.com. That doesn't exist. Or if it does, it's not good. Or the Facebook page is really good. We have the Focus on the Forest Facebook page, which is a community page. You join it and then we approve it, and you can see all the events that we've done and the amounts of trash and the places. So again, if you look at the Facebook pages, don't get disheartened by
Mm.
what you see. Look at the after pictures. Don't look at the before pictures as much, because some of them are pretty outrageous.
Yeah.
So the Facebook pages is a good place, and the website, and donations as far as that goes. Again, none of us get paid. I've never been paid for this, not a dime. Eve's never been paid. None of our volunteers. It's all volunteer. So anything that I think our program is about 92% of all the money we get goes
Mm.
into the actual program
That's great.
expense.
That's great.
So monetary donations, we try to keep that as high as possible, because, I want people to know that if they donate, that it's going to the actual forest.
Cool.
So monetary, but there's always things, like grabbers, gloves, trash bags, equipment of some sorts, anything that can help us clean up the forest we can use. And we'll always put it to good worse. We're looking for, companies that want to sponsor grabbers and put their names on them, or
Mm.
whatever it is. Because we go through, hundreds of grabbers
Oh, I'm sure.
and thousands of trash bags.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I
Okay.
think last year our dump fees were $5,000.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's just to dump the trash that we got.
Yeah. Well, and if I'm not mistaken, then you're 501c3. Selfishly, if people give you money, then they get tax deduction, excuse me, on that. Correct?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
like, if you're looking for a place to give money, folks, and selfishly, it helps get a little knockoff from Uncle Sam, and you're helping a good organization. 92% of the money is going into the work. Like, that's great. But then also, if you want to get out for the weekend or a day and help them, then they have events coming up this fall that you can do that. So that's wonderful. Shawn, anything that I missed? Anything else that you want to cover before we go?
It sounds like we covered most of it. I mean, I could stand here and babble on with you for the next 6 hours if you had the time, but I don't think we have that kind of time. So
Well,
maybe on the next one, we'll cover some more stuff.
I appreciate that. Well, yeah, you guys are doing great work. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you to Eve and the volunteers. And thanks for sharing about your positive attitude as well. Like, I think that makes a huge difference. What you guys are doing is hard work, but you're looking at this in a positive view and cleaning up and reclaiming our public lands. Oh,
That's the way to do it. Just
cool.
keep positive.
Cool.
We work together, we'll get it done. Thanks, Aaron. I really appreciate it.
Shawn, thank you. Look forward to connecting with you here soon. We'll follow up a little later.
All right.
All
Sounds
right.
good.
See ya.
Have a good day.
All right, folks. Thank you for taking a few minutes to hang out and watch as learn about Focus on the Forest and the good work that they're doing. Like I said at the beginning, my goal here is to connect with people who are helping elevate Colorado, that are doing good work, but they don't always get the recognition that they deserve. But I think that they're worth spotlighting, and what Shawn Nielsen and his wife Eve are doing with Focus on the Forest. The groups, look, they've been around for 5 years and making a big difference already with community support, financial support, and a large base of volunteers. You can help them if you want, going to focusontheforest.org or checking them out on Facebook, of course. And if you're in the Colorado Springs area, west of there, you want to help out. If you want to go down there for a weekend as they are doing their work, then you can do that as well. So this is a conversation that I would also like to have over the long period through this channel in helping spotlight what's going on with our public lands and helping the problems with overcrowding, with the trash and destruction that comes with that. Because I think it's part of living in Colorado and trying to take care of the lands that we love here, why we live here, and be able to go out and recreate, whether it's open space in your community or whether it's getting up into the high country for the weekend or a week and getting away. It is frustrating to see, I didn't have that set up very well. But the scenes of trash that are in the mountains, they're doing good work there, Focus on the Forest, of managing that. But it can be frustrating to see. But really appreciate what Shawn had to say as far as the attitude and the mindset of looking at it as cleaning it up, is reclaiming our public lands. And they are our public lands. We get to use them. They're managed by the government, but they are our public lands. So I hope over time to find other ways to have this discussion in more ways, to bring on somebody from the Forest Service is one of my goals through this, to talk to them and get input on what they're experiencing and what they recommend for people around our states to help maintain our public lands and be up there, be able to have fun and do it in a way that we're not leaving the trash behind. And it's a great experience for the people that come behind you. So we loved your feedback on this. If you learned anything, let me know. Enter it in the comments down below. Would love to know, what you took away from this discussion, and what are some of the areas that you love to go to? I'd love to if you share that. Like I shared this summer, I was up West Boulder County on the Peak to Peak Highway, which is a really great area to go see. Down where they're at, west of Colorado Springs, that's a great area around the Pikes Peak area. Obviously, really great. Woodland Park, nice little community and some great Forest Service areas there. Go camping, go hiking around. So let me know down below. If you found this valuable, you want to keep watching, see other people that I'm bringing on, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Everybody says it. Do it down below. And we got more stuff coming up here in the near future, some more great interviews in the near future. So with that, appreciate you watching. I'm Aaron Johnston for Mile High Live. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next show.